Today's topic is building product management skills, tips from an industry expert. We're going to dig into the soft skills area. We're going to look at what are the, other than the technical skills, what is actually required in product management and as a product leader. We have an amazing speaker for the day today. We have Ms. Swapna Bapat. She's a highly accomplished technology executive with over 20 years of experience in the networking and security industry. So, currently she is the Vice President of Product Network Security at Palo Alto Networks, and she leads product strategy, business development, market analysis for the company's network security offerings. Throughout her career, Ms. Swapna has established a proven track record of driving business growth through marketing, product development, and customer engagement. She has an amazing experience in identifying channels and building the ecosystem for business growth with partners, and has successfully conceptualized and driven products to market with cross-continental teams for service providers' enterprise markets. Prior to this, she was also holding various leadership roles in product at Cisco, and she's worked for nearly 15 years with them. And during her time at Cisco, she also led the development and launched several industry-leading network products and played a key role in expanding the company's business in emerging and developed economies. So it's wonderful to have an expert like Ms. Swapna here, and I'm really looking forward to the session this morning. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and put you on spotlight, and Ms. Swapna, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Kashish, and good morning, everyone. She did not check with me before giving that introduction. It was way too long, Kashish. Shorter would have been nice. But it's a pleasure being with all of you, and thanks for spending an hour of your Sunday morning. Hopefully it's worth it. And I was thinking whether I should focus on the business side of things, but then business has a lot of dependencies on the vertical you're associated with, right? Whether it's IT or manufacturing or healthcare or pharma, product managers are there everywhere. And plus, there's an area of product management which I saw emerging roughly 10, 12 years ago about solutions and offerings. So putting some products together and offering a solution to a problem. And there are product managers for that as well, because there's pricing, there's go-to-market, and so on. So for this session, I'm going to be focusing on the softer side of the job, the skills you need to develop intrinsically to be successful across verticals, right? We're keeping it really generic. I will be speaking specifically in 5 areas, but given we are a very cozy bunch, see roughly 60 odd people, let's keep it interactive. That's the advantage of being a smaller bunch. If there were 300, 400 people, we couldn't have done that. So really looking forward to a little bit of Q&A, and I've kind of kept that kind of time between each topic, right?
So with that, begin. Can we go ahead and launch a couple of polls to understand the audience?
I would love that. I would love to understand experience level, which vertical you're working in. Is it IT, healthcare, manufacturing? Absolutely. Please go ahead.
All right. So audience, here's your first poll. Please do go ahead and answer. So let us know what is your working professional experience. All right. I have been... Okay, good answers. So Ms. Swapna, can you see them on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
I can.
Okay. All right, about 43 answers, still going, keep it going. We have about 44% of people who are between the experience of less than 5 years. Some of them from 28% of people with the experience of 5 to 10 years. 19% 10 to 15 years, and a good 6% who say that they don't remember how long they've been working for.
Hey guys, we're not older.
You're not alone. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'll just keep it open for 2 more seconds until you take the answer. Yes, we have a couple of freshers as well. That's absolutely okay. That's absolutely all right as well. Wonderful. Yep. Thank you so much. I'm going to end this poll. Go ahead and take another one. I will be sharing these results. All right. So the second poll, hold on.
And thanks, folks, for answering this. This allows us to keep the conversation more relevant, give some examples which are probably more relevant to you folks. So
Absolutely. All right. The second one being, are you an aspiring product manager, or are you already into product, or you do not know about product management? All right. Please go ahead, take the poll. I see about 50 people quite active answering the polls. All right. So we have about a good 30, 39, 38% of people who are aspiring product managers. 25% of people who are already in product management, and about 36% people who would love to know about product management and they currently do not know about it. So good mix, I would say.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, let's go ahead.
9% aspiring.
Let's go ahead and share one last poll. I'm sharing the results. All right, go ahead, please answer. What is your industry? What background do you come from? Healthcare, SaaS companies, manufacturing, IT? Are you an entrepreneur? Financial services, consulting, other? If you're from any of the other industries, please go ahead. Thank you so much. I see about 10% from healthcare, 4% from SaaS, about 10, 11% from manufacturing, 32% from IT, and 15% of people are entrepreneurs. Wonderful. Financial services, we have about 9%, and consulting 4%, and about 15% from other companies. So you can put down in the chat box of what industry you're from. If it's other, you can just go ahead and put it out in the chat box. All right, thank you so much. Ms. Swapna, I'll let you go ahead with the session.
Thanks, Kashish. And thank you so much for responding to those polls. Gives me a good idea on where you guys are in your career journey and what areas probably are more relevant to you. So I'll try to keep examples which are easily understandable, because while we have 30% in IT, I see a significant percent in manufacturing, healthcare, and startups combined. Fintech, very interesting space, but I'm sure all of you use technology, right? So good stuff. Okay, so let's get started. Because there's a third of the folks here who don't understand what product management is, we'll talk a little bit about that. I wasn't planning to, honestly, but we will talk a little bit about that so that you understand where this whole discipline comes from. And I'll tell you, when I started in product management, we did not have an education medium that gave you a degree or an MBA in product management. We actually went about doing it as part of the job that we were given. And it evolves as you mature in the role. Product management essentially is about definition. It starts with definition. It's about bringing clarity on why an enterprise should invest in something. What are we going to build as an enterprise in order to sell? So definition of the product. I didn't use the word product because it could be a piece of hardware, it could be a piece of software, it could be a combination of the two. And now, given AI, it could honestly be literally a live solution of multiple pieces of software talking to each other dynamically. And it's very interesting, the evolution of what a product can become today. But at the end, there's someone to consume what a product manager defines. That someone could be an end consumer, that someone could be a business. The definition of the product is one of the biggest responsibilities of a product manager, and then sustaining it through the life cycle of the product. Defining the product, helping develop it. The development process, again, very much depends on which vertical you're part of, but the product manager plays a critical role throughout the development cycle. And then defining the go-to-market piece. How do we take this product from being built in the enterprise to successfully being able to get sold in the outside market? And it's very dependent on whether it's a business to business product, it's a business to consumer product. That's where the importance of channels, your route to market, you have to define the entire strategy, working in conjunction with a lot of other team members within the enterprise. So that's really a product manager's critical role. Depending on the vertical you're in, the product manager also has P&L responsibilities, which is how much have I invested in very layman's terms, how much money am I putting in and how much money is the enterprise going to make? So it's the business case essentially. And you should have a very good idea of when this product is going to break even, when it's going to be net positive, how are you going to get it there, and what would you start with to make the product successful, and over time, what should the roadmap of the product be? So that's for those people, for roughly 1/3 of the people who don't know what product management is, it's that. And to give you an example, I work in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, we have network security, cloud security. Obviously, have to provide security to our customers every day. And we define what that secure product should look like. In order to understand that, we have to understand where all a customer and enterprise could be attacked, and accordingly define products which keep them safe. So that's an example of what I do in my daily job as working in a cybersecurity company, Palo Alto Networks. So with that, let's move on to the next slide. If I can get the slide to move, there you go. So I don't have many slides, actually, just 5 to 6 slides, and it's really more about conversation. But let's start with the concept of a product manager. We spoke about product management, we spoke about the discipline, what a product manager does, but a very essential part of being a product manager, and I think what many product managers struggle with, is that yellow word in the term product manager, right? The manager part of product management. So I'd love to hear from folks on the Zoom call. Why do you think the word manager is really included? This largely when you start off, and it takes many years for you to become a manager of PMs. But you start off as a manager. And if you look at a person who's starting as an engineer, or who's starting as a product operations person, they don't have the term manager behind them. So I see a hand raised. Take a shot. Who's that very good friend of mine who's going to speak up? I see 2 participants having raised their hands. Let me take a look.
Soumya, please go ahead, ask a question. I'm allowing you to talk.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I think the product manager itself is somebody who takes ownership of the product. So basically management is about managing how the things work. You take ownership of how it should work. What are all the things that you should be doing in order for both the growth of the product and to place it in a proper way in the market, is what I think is what a product manager does.
Nice. Thanks for that, Soumya. We'll go to Vishal.
Vishal, allowing you to talk. Just a second. Yes, please go ahead.
Thanks. So my definition of product manager is like, someone who is owning the responsibility of making it successful, whether it is an external world decision or internal team decisions. So you are a decision maker, and your decisions you are owning to make it successful. The objective, what are the objectives? and you make those successful.
Good. Thanks, Vishal.
Right, I'll go to Mr. Sachin here.
Yep.
Hello, good morning all. Uh, what I'd like to do is take an analogy from the people manager. So, like a people manager is responsible for the career of a person. Likewise, a product manager is responsible for the life cycle of the product, from uh, hiring or taking the talent in the company to making or growing that talent inside the company to a level where he can be called a successful person. So that's how we take a product or an idea of a product and then translate it to a successful product. So that's how I see it.
Thanks, Sachin.
Mr. Harshit, please go ahead.
We'll take one more and then we'll go on.
Yeah, so more than a people manager, you don't manage people, but bring vision to people about the product. That's the difference I feel. You're managing product, not people.
Thanks, Abhishek. So one of the common themes that all of you spoke about is ownership. And that's very important. And ownership is a topic in itself, which we will be talking about. But I really like the way you guys articulated it. There was someone who spoke about being responsible as a people's manager, being responsible for people's careers. One could have a conversation on that. I'm not 100% with you, but what I am with you is when you're managing people, you have to ensure that the team works towards a common goal. That's your role as a manager of people, and in that you have to ensure they succeed at achieving their goal and hence succeed in their career. Now, as a product manager, I will start with the same word I started earlier. It's about definition. If you're able to define what needs to be built, it gives you a lot more credibility. We will be talking about credibility throughout this conversation. And the moment you define what this product, what this solution is for the enterprise, you become responsible for the product. So it's about responsibility, it's about ownership, it's about justification, it's about execution, it's about coordination, and all summed up together, it's about responsibility for this product. So without having the ability to manage a large number of people, you are actually directing a large number of people, much larger than probably an individual people manager would do, towards the common goal of building and landing this product that you're responsible for. And that's why the word manager plays a very important role in the word product manager. Now, all this is good. This is very good description, adjectives, and thank you all for participating. You have the essence, but it's not easy. All of you who started off as individual product managers would have had to not particularly get immediate acceptance, right? I personally have had a lot of opportunities where I've had to go and justify why I need 20 engineers or whatever the number might be to work on a certain product. And I got asked a lot of hard questions, and one of the most painful meetings or set of meetings I would have had, because you feel like you're the lone warrior convincing the people with the money out there. So it was like Shark Tank, pseudo Shark Tank in a different environment. And it's not easy because these are people who are known to you, they're judging you. Shark Tank, you get to walk out and that's it. But in an enterprise, you continue to work in that enterprise. So there's so much on the line when you're facing such hard discussions. And then when you get the investment, managing it through the life cycle, as a gentleman was saying, it's not easy because none of these people are reporting to you. And technically, you can't tell them, go and do this. So how do you solve that really tough dilemma that all product managers at some point or the other go through? So with that, we'll move on to the next topic. The first way to solve that problem is building a network. Building a network, you must have heard of this in many forums where people tell you about professional career growth and how you need to know more people, how you need to know people at different places in the enterprise. But as a product manager, this is probably the most important soft skill that you have to learn, is building a network within the enterprise. And how do you start? It's very easy to someone go and tell you, start networking. It's not like you have a forum where you can go and start building this network, or you have lunch or have a dinner with someone. There is no platform given to you, yet you have to build a net. So you start with the first activity, which is understanding stakeholders. There is always a set of stakeholders in your enterprise that would help you be successful, or would help you make the product you're building or you're responsible for successful. And that's the first step towards building a network, understanding who are the points in the enterprise, who are those groups, who are those individuals who are going to help you succeed. And I want to take this with an example. And then in a bit, I'd love to hear from you guys how you do this. So in a product organization, when you're building a set of hardware, a piece of hardware or a piece of software, you have to understand that there is the first process of defining the product. When you define the product, typically you would write what we call a product requirements document. And in certain cases, you have to write a MRD, which is a market requirements document. Let's stay with the PRD for a moment. Then you have people who will be reviewing the PRD. They're your first stakeholders. They will come there, and if they don't know you, when you don't know each other, they come in with a certain mindset. They come in skeptical, not necessarily negative, but skeptical. So they start reviewing those documents. Then there's the phase where people start building what you have defined. Then there's a phase where you have to work with marketing to build collateral, define how to get the product out, reaching the right target market segments. And lastly, it's sales. So imagine these are all the stakeholders that are very critical to make your product successful. So understanding those stakeholders are very important. And then building relationships. Building relationships is something that is asked of us every time as we work in an enterprise. And when you build relationships with stakeholders, you have to understand the what's in it for them to have that conversation with you. So when you understand the role of your stakeholder, put yourself in that stakeholder's position and understand, if you were to have a conversation with them, how would you build that relationship successfully? By defining what's in it for them, right? So building those bridges with these stakeholders and building those strong relationships, extremely important. And then the key to understanding or building strong relationships is understanding dependencies. So when you know how, let's take an example of a marketing person, a person who has to take your product, build collateral around it. How many products or how much work do they have on their plate, right? How long can they spend time on your product? Is there so much happening out there for them that they don't have time to spend on your product? Understand their state, build that relationship, find a way to work with them. Because at the end of the day, you have to find a way to work with them to make your product successful. So one way of ensuring that as the manager piece of product manager, you're actually able to execute on it is by building a very strong network internally. So with that, I'll open up to understand from you, have you faced any challenges in building a network in your enterprise? Do you understand stakeholders? Do you understand how to map these stakeholders? Would love to hear from a couple of you.
Audience, you may raise your hand and I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Ashish, just give me a minute as spoke. I am listening, but I'll go off video.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody in the audience would like to take that question? And if you have any challenges or any questions with regards to networking, please go ahead and feel free to ask. I think we have one question from LinkedIn. All right, before we take the LinkedIn question, Mr. Prashant would like to speak. Ms. Swapna, shall I allow Mr. Prashant to share his thoughts? Yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of seconds until Ms. Swapna is back. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. There were no comments, is it?
No, we're going ahead with Mr. Prashant, Sameer, and Nilesh. They want to answer.
Brilliant. Prashant, please go ahead.
Prashant, I've allowed you access to talk. You can unmute. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, ma'am, so I work into data analytics, and I get requirements from the business stakeholders. But in my current context, with respect to the current organizational ecosystem, the data assets are owned by the definition, and the knowledge is owned by some other team. In our context, it is product engineering. So sometimes, with respect to the uh, business case requirement, the data availability is not complete, and I had to uh, chase for it, and for that I have to, navigate from one person to another to build a network. So that is a challenge, like to having a network that will help you solve or address a business problem.
That is true, Prashant. And in your case, this probably when I was working in Microsoft as in this particular area of technology, being able to deliver those insights to your customer, you have a dependency on a lot of other teams within the enterprise to give you those data sets and totally understand the position you're in. But believe me, it's such an important position. So really work on building those stronger relationships well in advance. If you go to somebody and ask them last minute, I really need this data tomorrow, it's not going to happen. So tell them why you need this data, explain it to them, give them enough time because they might be having 20 other things to do, and obviously give them credibility at the end when they actually help you. Sameer?
Hi, Swapna. So, in my standpoint, building network, basically from a stakeholder standpoint, what I find is that, understanding different needs and expectations of the stakeholders. So, for example, at different stages of a product development, in the initial phases, there are different set of stakeholders that are there. And the major challenge that I find is basically, who is going to be the decision maker. In some scenarios, like when we are meeting with the business people, there is one set of individuals, who are more committed to the project. So, their involvement is higher. And to some cases, they probably are constrained with time, or, whatever their challenges are, that they are not very, actively involved. So, to be able to judge is the major challenge that I find. So, like the way that I try to handle it would be, ask them upfront in terms of, what their expectations or timeline requirements would be, and what in scenarios where they will or will not be involved in the decision making is something that I try to do.
That's good. That's really good, Sameer. And what I would tell all of you is when you have a lunchtime free, or you have a half an hour free, or you can, and should be planned, put in a meeting with someone you don't know in some group, because that's the best time to learn ask them questions. What do you do? Show interest in what they're doing. And people really like it when you ask them questions because you're trying to learn about them. And that's the best way to start building relationships. Now, that person might not directly benefit you, but he or she might tell you of 4 other roles which you might learn about and hence build that network with. So good stuff there. Nilesh?
Yeah, good morning. My question is, as a product manager, we have to be very critical with stakeholder management, and in that, how the influence without authority, one of the key skills. Actually, I'm an aspiring product manager. I'm in the first year of MBA, so I want to know some points about that. What is the relation networking, internal stakeholder management, and the influence without authority? So these 3 words, I am little bit want to learn something about. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're talking about, Nilesh. Influencing without authority. I didn't want to use that term. It's a little hackneyed right now, but I would rather concentrate on the concept of building a network, because any job, any stage in your life, at any level, building a network becomes extremely important. And the ability to manage, don't look at the word manage as having authority. The word authority itself is a bit of a misnomer. You're given a power, but you're given the power to execute based on the premise of collaboration. And collaboration is about building a network. The ability to see and find common areas between someone else and you, and hence influence their decision, and hence be able to manage your product. So the word authority, I am not a fan of. Authority translates to something which could be done without the right intent. Our intent here is to make the product successful. Our intent here is to ensure that the business, the enterprise you work for is successful, and the stakeholders ultimately are happy, right? The shareholders. So authority is not, in nowadays, you can't go and tell people do something. I'm the product manager. I'm telling you to go and do it. Doesn't work that way. It's about influencing, and it's about influencing by finding a common area where you both can learn and leverage each other's strengths. Right? So you have to be beneficial to the other person. Okay, so with that, sorry, I know you have Shalini, Soumya, and Sachin, your hands are raised, but we'll probably get to you in the next topic in the interest of time. Appreciate everyone participating. It's so important because there are a set of folks, product management is new to them. Some of you who have experience, share your thoughts, and then we can delve a little bit deeper and share with these folks. So thank you, really appreciate that. So we'll go to the next topic on credibility, and it's sequential. Building a network also doesn't mean you go and have lunch and dinner and evening chats. It's about building mutual respect, and respect comes with credibility. Now, how do you build credibility? And why is credibility so important? When you have to get a set of people to do something, even if you're just a people's manager and not a product manager, you have to build credibility with the team. Excuse me. The team has to understand that you bring something to the table. The rest of the organization have to understand that you bring something to the table. And building credibility takes time. People are not going to listen to you for an hour and then say, okay, this person knows his or her stuff. Building credibility requires a lot of work from product managers. And you should be really investing time in growing yourself and having the capability to stand there and demand credibility. Now, how do you do that? Let's take, we'll take an example as we go, but let's start with some of the concepts of building credibility. Okay, I want it to work. There you go. First is trust. Credibility at the end of the day translates to trust. If I am asking for investment into the product that I think this enterprise that I'm working in should build, I have to show and I have to prove that I have done all my homework. What does homework mean? I understand the problem statement. What is the problem statement? You're building a product, you're building a solution. So there has to be a problem to solve. If there's no problem to solve, then you're losing credibility. So the ability to define the problem statement brings credibility to that conversation. And that credibility translates to, let's say you're speaking to the vice president or the president or the CEO or the CFO, who's actually going to sign the check to give you a set of engineers or give you a piece of hardware or give you a set of people to help you build your product. That person should very clearly be able to corroborate the fact that your problem statement is very clear. So you're able to define the problem, and hence you're able to build trust. This person understands why we are building this product. Second is sincerity. Really come about it with a very sincere set of data points to explain that problem statement. I have done market analysis. I have done competitive analysis. I've looked at the market. I have worked with a certain set of analysts. I have found out this is the market potential. I have double-clicked and I have built another layer on top of this analysis by doing my own research. I have backed that up by looking at competition. Yes, I understand competition is investing in this space. I understand they're doing it in this way, but that's why I want to do it in a different way so that we will win or we will get to market faster, right? So sincerity is built by data, by gathering the right amount of data and presenting it in a very easily consumable fashion. Again, goes back to building credibility. Third is reliability. There will be a point in your career for those who are already product managers where you're working on a product which might not succeed. And I've been there. And that's a low moment for all of us in product management, because you invest probably months, if not years, in a product, and it either doesn't see the light of day or it sees the light of day, but it never succeeds. Now, what do you do with that? I'm going to keep that in your mind because that's more on the next topic. But the reason I bring up the topic of reliability under credibility is the data and the argument you make towards your problem statement should be backed up with reliable data, right? It should be backed up. It could be with conversations. It could be, for example, if you have a person from competition having entered your company, he or she directs you to certain locations which you're able to read up and hence gain new knowledge. You bring more data to the table. And last is consistency. Consistency really backs up credibility, because if you have to, for example, supply a report, nobody has asked you to do this, but remember, you're investing a lot in building credibility. The consistency is achieved by saying that every month I'm going to publish a report about how our product is doing or what is competition doing. Consistently do that every month because you have claimed you will do that. People develop respect for you. People start looking at you as credible because you have built that sort of consistent behavior. These 3-4 areas really allow you to build credibility within the organization, build respect, and hence influence people positively. Again, you go and talk and say, do this because I am a product manager, people will not do it. So build and focus on credibility. We're at 11:45. I would have loved to open up for more, but I think I'll speed up a bit, and we will talk through some of the topics towards the end. Okay. I didn't want to enhance it 3 times. Sorry about that. Next is ownership. This was something you all spoke about. And ownership, Soumya, we will get back to you later. I really appreciate the participation. So ownership is not only about saying, I am a product manager and hence I own this product. It's about taking initiatives. I have seen many product managers write the PRD, write the requirements, hand it over to the next set, whether it's operations or whether it is pricing or whether it is development, engineering, and kind of say, okay, my job is done. Now I need to go on to the next phase. The ability to take initiative is very, very important when it comes to ownership. Ownership is not about being told what to do. Ownership is about defining what to do. That's why taking initiative is an essential soft skill that you will have to develop over time. Now, what does that mean? Let's take an example. An example could be, I'm seeing in the early phases of the release after my product, that's not kind of taking off as I had anticipated. That lovely business case where I had shown a graph that after 6 months of development, in the first 2 quarters of the release of the product, we will see, let's say, 4% gain in market share. Didn't happen. Now, you could go and start justifying why it didn't happen. Sales folks didn't sell well. I didn't get the initiative that I wanted to give the sales team. Marketing didn't do a good enough job. Or you can take the initiative and create a get well plan. A get well plan, taking all the stakeholders, again, marketing, sales, because at this point, the product has been developed. So there's a separate set of stakeholders that you will need to speak to. Take that initiative, build the get well plan and run on it. What do people see? Rather than you focusing on the negative fact that the product is not doing well, you're doing everything you can to ensure the product will be doing better. So taking initiative is about ownership. Decision making. Somebody spoke about that earlier when we were defining what a product manager does. Product managers have to take very tough decisions. Sometimes you have to take the decision that this is not the right product to invest in because the market is evolving. And nowadays, thanks to technology, market is evolving extremely fast. So if you have to take a decision of lowering investments in the product or increasing investments in the product, or for that matter, completely changing a channel by which you're going to sell. If it's a business to consumer, you were deciding everything will go online and suddenly you say, no, I have to go to brick and mortar. That's a decision you would have to take. You would have to back it with data, but you would have to take that decision. So decision making is a central part. Problem solving. Oh, believe me, there will be tons of problems constantly happening in the background. And if you're not on top of it, you won't solve the problem. So you have to, in each stage of the process, be aware. I'll give you a personal example. I was working on a product and almost 80% of the engineering team was let go because of larger reasons in the company. And that was a problem I had to solve as the product manager because the product had to be built. There was a market for it. There were customers waiting for it. So you pick that up. You don't say, no, engineers got laid off. Somebody in engineering will figure it out because I'm a product manager. You figure it out. You find ways to enable that product to be successful. So problem solving, very, very important. Critical analysis. Critical analysis is really about each stage of the product life cycle, being able to be very critical, sometimes self-critical, sometimes critical of the process, and not being critiquing with no benefit, but really critiquing with the benefit of finding a solution. I always tell people in my team, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. The fact that you can identify a problem clearly says you have an high IQ. But if you can bring solutions to me, you have a much higher IQ. And that's what we want to see. We want to see problem solvers, right? So critical analysis shows that you care. The ability to constantly be looking at market numbers, constantly be working with the program manager, person who is actually ensuring your product is going through a certain stage of life cycle, and critically analyzing whether are they looking at all the areas? Are we missing something? Right? That's the capability that you have to develop because you're an owner. It's a critical or an essential part of ownership. And lastly, systems thinking. Systems thinking is a broad subject, so I'm not going to go and talk about it in detail. But if you are so rat-holed and anal about your product and you're not looking at how it fits in with the larger product line of your enterprise, then how your customer is using it in their environment, is it a mix, how it's fitting in between the various segments, the various market verticals, the intersection points, you're not developing systems thinking. So ownership is also about looking at the larger picture, the forest and not just the trees. So all these 5 things are essential part of developing those skills that you will need to develop over time as you build ownership, the skill of being an owner. And think of it, if you were a CEO of a company, you would be doing all this, right? Along with obviously the financial side of things, which is also essential as a product manager, but we're focusing on the softer side. These tenets are as good as being a leader, somebody who owns the business, who drives that business. So it might be for a small product or an area that you're responsible for, but you have to build critical ownership skills. And last is, there was a conversation about product life cycle. And after this, I think we have a couple of minutes and we'll really open up for a good conversation or questions. There's a lot of talk about product life cycle, which is good. You will have to take the product from what I call conceptualization all the way to the market. That's the life of a product manager. But I like to call it participation life cycle, because as a product manager, you will participate from conceptualization to market. It's not just about defining. It's about being there. It's about participating. And that's really what allows you to build that circle of influence without authority. Because you're there when, and I work in IT, right? And the products are being developed by software engineers, hardware engineers sometimes. And a lot of you who are in IT, so 30% of you in IT. Now, it's not just IT, right? Let me take an example of healthcare. You might be working in a company which builds products for hospitals to consume, to provide medical services to patients. Now, being involved in deciding which chipsets you're going to build, being involved in the supply chain crisis, being involved in designing the entire product so that it's easier for patients to use or doctors to monitor, all the way to when it is actually marketed to a hospital. Participating in each of these phases is super critical for product managers. It might not be your direct responsibility, but if you're not there, it's happening without you and you're not able to influence it, right? So to me, PLC is not about just the product life cycle, it's about your participation in the life cycle of the product. So with that, I will stop. I think we have 6 minutes, Kashish. Let's open it up.
So we have 2 questions in the chat box. I think I'll just go ahead and address that because we have these same questions on LinkedIn. One is conflict management. Can you just touch base a little bit about conflict management? This is also a question from LinkedIn that we've got.
Conflict management. Okay, that's a very broad topic because I think conflicts come up in all sorts of roles. But product management, you will face a lot of conflicts for sure, because there will be people who will say, you have to go through channels. For example, we have to sell through distributors if it's hardware, or you don't understand. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm telling you this is the way it's done. Conflict resolution is possible. Hopefully people are not bringing ego to the table. When it's 2 egos clashing, it's hard. You really need to go one level above. But if you keep egos aside, professional people are always convinced with good enough data. So if you bring data to back up what you want to say, that's point number 1. Point number 2, be in a listening mode. Don't be in a telling mode. Conversations and conflicts never go anywhere if people are not listening to each other. Because that's when, if you're not listening, it means you're bringing your ego to the table. So really listen, be in listening mode, listen to the other person, put yourself in their place, see where they're coming from, why they're saying what they're saying, and then have a conversation with data, and generally conflicts get resolved. What was the next thing, Kashish?
We have one question, a smaller one. Who can approve the budget needed for any initiative taken by a product manager?
Shark Tank. No, on a serious note, budgets are hard and it's It's about justification. It's about where the company is at what stage of maturity, and it's also about the market. So who can give you the budget? It's a combination of the C-suite, right? It's sometimes the board, depending on what level you are in the organization. But your ability to justify is all driven by how you present the data. And I put stress on how, because the data might be perfect, but you don't present it accurately, you don't present it effectively, you don't present with impact. So again, goes back to understanding your stakeholders. Where is the CFO coming from? Where is the CMO coming from? Where is the CIO coming from? In my case, IT. Where are they coming from? What is their current situation? How is your company doing? They will come from with a certain angle. Can you present the data to, for lack of a better word, counter their thinking? Can you present the data to convince them of the areas they might potentially object to? See, when you go to ask for funding, you should be very clear on all the possible areas, if not 100%, at least 90% of the objections that might come to you. And be prepared to counter those arguments or those objections with very good data, put in a very easy to understand manner. I always tell people, especially in the tech space, if you can't explain what you're saying to a 12-year-old, go back to the drawing board and try to find a better way to explain it. That goes the same way with presenting data. Back to you, Kashish.
All right. We have another question from, hold on, just a second. We have a question from Samir. What are some effective ways for product managers to seek feedback from customers and stakeholders, and how to use this feedback to improve products?
Feedback, yes. Feedback is a very important piece. It also has to be taken constantly. Now, the question was, how do you take feedback, right?
Yes, it's more along the lines of how to seek feedback from product managers and customer stakeholders.
Okay, customer stakeholders, customer feedback. One of the things many product managers don't do, and I've been fortunate to work in companies which, when I was in product management, they really encouraged us to meet customers. I do so. One of the metrics we used for product managers is how many customers have you met this week? Every week, how many customers have you met? Meeting customers, understanding how they're using the products and what features of the product they don't use and why they don't use is very important. And don't get hung upon meeting just the C-levels. The real meat of the conversation happens to the people who are actually getting their hands dirty and using your product. So talk to them on a regular basis. Talk to the partners, talk to all the channels who are helping you sell. Is it your sales team? Your sales team is probably the most easiest set of folks to reach out to, because they would love to give their feedback, because they hear from customers 3 times a day, where you might hear from customers twice a week. So get to them. And I'm not giving you a form or something to fill up, but you should be prepared with very pointed questions that help you get an area of the answer that you want to get to improve your product. So it's really about meeting folks. It's about asking them the right questions, being prepared with those.
We have one question about recommended books. Would you somehow want to take that question? Shalini Harkar asks, is there any books that are recommended for entire participation lifecycle to understand that better?
Maybe I'll send those to you offline. There are lots of good courses I have noticed, which we didn't have back then. I feel old when I say that, but Udemy and LinkedIn, and I think they have some decent courses on product management as well. And then, hey, we're at the Product Leadership Forum as well. They also have a lot of good courses that you can take to understand product management as a discipline.
All right. Can we go ahead and take a live question, if that's okay? Ms. Swapna, can we just extend probably by a minute or so and take, I see 2 hands raised. One is Soumya. So Soumya, please go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, thanks. Hi, Swapna. Really enjoyed your session. It was great. I just have one question though. I mean, you said that network is probably the base of product management. So I have noticed that there is a lot of prejudice that usually comes with, people. Like say, for example, of how you speak or how you look. People have a certain image of you made already. How do you break that ice? What's the icebreaker? Like since you've been in the industry for like 20 years, if you could just give us some tips.
Wow, that was a googly. I didn't expect that. How you behave, how you talk. I have met product managers from other countries who are not necessarily very confident with English, for example, but they know how to put across their point. Luckily, we have slides, and whether it's Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint, the ability to express yourself with confidence should be independent of how you look. That's point number one. People are looking at you. It's unfortunate. It's not the appearance. It's the confidence you exude. Confidence comes with knowledge. I always say that. If you know the material, if you know the data, you can pack it up. You're prepared with those 5-6 questions or those 10 questions that your audience might ask you. That's where the confidence comes from. Now, everyone can't come with 20 years of experience. So what you can do is be very, very well prepared. Also be prepared that there will be questions which you won't be able to answer. Think about how you're going to handle them, right? Are you going to say, I'll get back to you, I'll do some research? So confidence, Soumya, should kind of kill appearance, how you talk, what language you use. There are many people who don't speak certain languages but come out to be very successful because they know the material they're talking about. And thanks for your questions and your participation, Soumya.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
We have 2 more really specific questions on the Q&A window. If we can. I'm currently working as a senior product analyst and will have a chance to act as a data product manager while we build a data platform for internal customers. As a career progression, shall I focus on being a data product manager or can I also look at general product management? How are current and future career opportunities as a product manager for data and AI?
I would say the possibilities with data are humongous. When you become a data product manager, you will be developing, and the term data product manager is a bit of a misnomer because at the end of the day, your customers, as you said, are internal. So let's say you're a bank and you need the head of lending expect some data from your data lake and what you're managing. The ability to clearly define what this lending head would need from you, the ability to get the right set of data, represented in a way that is easily consumable by the data head and his or her team would be essential to your success as a quote unquote data product manager. These skills are generic because what have you done in this process? You have gathered the requirements from your customer, the person who's going to be consuming what you built. So you've gathered the requirements, you have defined them clearly, have them come and review those requirements, build mock-ups of how the data is going to be looking once they're able to consume it. You've taken care of everything. Now, at what speed do they need this data? Do they need it every day? Do they need it in batch? Then start working at the back end. How will you get the data? First of all, have you identified the data sources? And are you, sorry, I'm getting a little bit into an area which I really enjoy is data analytics, but really the skills you will develop are very generic to the person who asked this question. So go for it. Product management, if something you're really passionate about, absolutely go for it. And those skills are transferable.
Thank you so much. I hope that answers your question. We have, I think we can take probably one more question on how to clear roadblocks in cross-functional teams.
Wow. This is, see, there's no golden answer to this. Clearing roadblocks, believe me, in any role, this is not just product management, but in any role, clearing roadblocks, there's no golden key. It's really, there was a question about conflict management, right? People come with a certain objection, a certain thought, or stubbornness, if you will, because they have some experience that leads them to think in a certain way, or they have data that leads them to think a certain way, or they might be misjudging you because someone has told them something. So first, really spend time in listening and building a relationship with this people or with this team. And identify your stakeholder. The team could be big, but there might be two people making decisions. Work with them. It's really investment of time, understanding where they're coming from, identifying those areas, and then slowly nipping and chipping at it to break down the perception or refute the data, or sometimes you might have to change. And negotiation, as you know, is a little bit about giving and then taking. So find that middle ground. It's about finding the middle ground. Develop that skill of finding the middle ground by listening to folks. Listening is key. I know many people just come with a stand and they talk and they talk and they talk. You really need to develop the ability to listen and find that middle ground. That's how you can break down roadblocks in cross-functional teams.
Wonderful. I think that should clearly answer the question.
Good.
I think
Are
we
we?
close now. I think we've taken quite a lot of questions. And
Yeah, I think we've gone a little bit above time, but thank you so much, folks, for joining here. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. I really wish a lot of success in your careers as product managers or otherwise.
Thank you so much, Ms. Swapna, for joining us on this session. It's been such a pleasure. In fact, I can very, very well say that I've heard so many more different insights than all of the sessions we've had before. And it's amazing. This is the reason we love having different speakers on different expert talks, because no matter one question, there's always different answers to everything, different perspectives and different experiences altogether that give us to look at a concept in a different light than just one way. So I think to sum it up, this was pretty much a wonderful session. I see an audience participation, a very lovely audience that we had today. But I do understand there could be a lot of questions that you may have. I still see chat box and Q&A window being filled. I would just like to say, in case you have any more questions, what you can do is just take a screenshot of this and you can scan the QR code and later on schedule probably a quick 10-15 minute call with any of our career coaches, or we have counselors, right, who can help you understand if product leadership is the right way for you to go in case you're looking into getting into product, or if you have specific domain specific questions, or you want to get into entrepreneurship, or if you're looking at getting into C-suite roles at your company, then maybe you can also schedule this call to understand how you can move forward from here. So I'll give you a second. Just go ahead, take a screenshot. We're always here to help. You can always talk to one of our career coaches. We have an epic board of amazing product experts from all across many organizations like Ms. Swapna here. You can always go ahead and connect on LinkedIn or schedule a call with them. So again, I would like to thank Ms. Swapna for your your time and your amazing insights. We would love to have you again for another session and another time.
Thank you, Kashish. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, rest of the weekend. Bye now.
Thank you so much. Before you go away, our audience, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your feedback. This helps us as people who are interested in product management. I'm sure you understand the value of feedback. So I would love it if you can go ahead and drop us a Google review about how you enjoyed the session, what were the key takeaways, and if there's anything that you would like to share with us. If there's any expert talks on a specific topic that you would like us to organize, then please feel free to go ahead and let us know, and we'll try our best to bring you the best speaker in the industry to answer those questions on the specific topic. So go ahead, take a screenshot or scan this QR code. Leave us a Google review, and we'd be really, really happy to hear your feedback about the speaker as well as about the content of this session. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of it. The Institute of Product Leadership thanks you for your participation. If you have any more questions, please feel free to connect with us on YouTube, on Instagram, LinkedIn, on email. We have a plethora of videos on YouTube. If you go ahead and find us at Institute of Product Leadership, you'll see an innumerable number of expert talks and videos on product management, and that can help you understand the most of the questions that you may have unanswered. Go ahead, visit our website. If you'd like to explore our courses and our programs on product management and data, you can go ahead and visit the website. We do have a lot of courses for working professionals, including an executive MBA program. So if you feel free to go ahead and explore. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Until next time, please be connected with us. We will come back with another expert talk in the month of May, every Saturday at 11 a.m. Thank you.